It's always great to see people in person, and thanks to those that join us online. Maybe we do a quick round of introductions, and I think in traditional healthcare committee fashion, if it's your first meeting, please let us know. That way we can give you a special welcome. I'm Jen Cox, Healthcare Committee Co-Chair with Luke.
Luke Bouchard, partner at KPMG, this office, and co-chair with Jen.
Phil Zeder, the lawyer.
Recording in progress.
And I am the legal advisor to the healthcare committee.
Tell us not to record our sessions.
Yeah. Hey Lily, I don't think we need to record it. Just go ahead and turn off the recording, please.
Hello, my name is Ingo.
Recording stopped.
Country managing director.
I'm sorry, I missed one. I think people might miss the.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
All right.
My
My pleasure. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Ingo. I'm working at Bayer as a country managing director and general manager pharma. Pleasure meeting you all.
My name is Nima. I come from the Baker McKinsey Vietnam. I'm also the co-chair of Food and Beverage Committee at AmchamVN. Nice to meet you. It's the first time I joined in the police.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nguyen, also from Baker McKinsey. It's Mina in several matters, and this is the first time I'll be here.
Is it Baker McKenzie?
Yes, Baker McKinsey.
Cool.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Olden. I'm the new executive director at Amcham Vietnam, and it's my first meeting today. So happy to be here.
I hope it's okay. I brought some of the Victoria crew by.
Cool. Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a seat. We'll get to the introductions to you in a moment.
Good afternoon. I'm Jason Chong, Country Manager for International SOS.
Oh, cool. Good to see you again.
See you again.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Pham, Senior Director for Corporate and Government Affairs from DK Tanks. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Jacks, Principal Commercial Officer at the U.S. Consulate General here in Ho Chi Minh City.
Hello, everyone. I'm country manager for Allianz Partner. Very nice to meet everyone today.
Yeah, Mason Cobb, Victoria Healthcare, and what is it? Sub-chair for hospitals and clinics.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kian, and I'm working for Digitex as a BD director. My second time here.
And remind us again what Digitex does.
Digitex does, in terms of healthcare, the back end of technology and data verification process.
Cool. That sounds like a presentation ready to happen.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm also working in Digitex together at the same team.
Very well.
Glad to see familiar faces and new faces today.
My name's Kevin Doak. I'm the General Manager for Sanofi Consumer Healthcare for Vietnam and Cambodia. And I'm also the Subcommittee Chair for the Consumer Health and Wellness Subcommittee.
My name is Francis Nguyen. I'm the Technology Advisor for VMED Group, and I'm also the Chairman of the Vice Chair of the Health Tech Subcommittee.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antti. I'm from Procter & Gamble. I'm the I and QA Manager for the consumer healthcare products. I'm also a pleasure to join.
And our esteemed colleague in the capacity that you are the.
Yeah, I'm also the Secretary for the Healthcare Committee today. Yeah.
Cool. And we have a few more people just walking in. Introduce yourselves. Victoria Healthcare friends.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Ron. I'm from Medco Vietnam. I'm in charge of the staffing outsourcing service.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm Rachel Thompson. I'm the General Manager for Baxter Healthcare and lead the subcommittee for medical devices.
Yes, wonderful. Lily, can you help us out with the online, please?
Yes, and good afternoon. My name is Lily. I'm in charge of the events and committee of AmchamVN.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Long. I'm in charge of technology in AmchamVN.
Thank you, Long. So I will go through the virtual attendee. Miss Yu Hu from Given in Managing.
Yeah, hello, everybody. It's my second time to join with Amcham. I'm from Given Imaging Vietnam. We belong to Medtronic Group. Nice to meet you all.
sorry, 108, Lady Auntie.
Hi chị Lý, I'm here.
Sorry, thank you, chị. Miss An. Miss An.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is An. I'm from Batman Coulter. Yeah, so good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Đạt Đồng. Hello, Đạt Đồng. Okay. So, Frank Nguyen.
I'm here.
Frank's
Really?
here.
Sorry. Miss Hạnh Trần.
Hello, everybody. I'm Hạnh, an associate from Variance and Partner Vietnam. Very nice to see you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, chị Hạnh. Hello, chị Nhung.
Hi, hello. I'm Nhung, commercial specialist from the USCS U.S. Embassy in Hanoi. And nice meeting you today.
Thank you. Rio Trento.
Oh, hello, everybody. Hi, Luke and everybody. I'm sorry we missed each other last week. I'm Ryu Torrento, Japanese and American, run a investment fund in agri-tech, food, F&B, nutrition, wellness, and other sectors. Nice to meet everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rio, are you clicked into any of the committees? I mean, the subcommittees? Maybe health and wellness, but perhaps?
Not that I know of, Luke. Was doing my best trying to.
I mean, Kevin, you might want to talk to Rio because that might slot into your newly reconstituted.
Reconstitute is not the word I would use, but expanded scope sounds very in line with the sectors he listed he was interested in. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe you guys have a good chat. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Rio. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Chị Mai Hương from Sanofi.
Hi everyone, my name is Hương, Public Affairs Lead on Consumer Healthcare at Sanofi. Nice to meet you all today. Thank you.
Hello, Thảo. Thảo or Thảo?
Hello everybody. This is Thao Nguyen. I am a commercial specialist at the U.S. Consulate General based in Ho Chi Minh City. Nice to see you. Thanks.
Hello, Thảo. VMED, Tú Anh. Chị Tú Anh.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Du Anh. I'm currently head of strategic and planning at VMED, the same team with Frank Nguyen. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, chị. Zygronski.
Hey guys, Zygronski here from Nidong 315. We have a chain of pediatric and women's health clinics in Saigon.
Zig, we gotta get you in person one of these days.
I know, I literally just got back from Japan yesterday and I couldn't do it. So yeah, next time.
Excuses.
Thank you. I believe that I go through the virtual attendee already. So over to you, Elo.
All right. Well, do you want to do the honors or should we let Lucas go for it, man?
Okay, we are a key strategic partner for promoting health and wellness and shaping the healthcare industry in Vietnam. We are a key strategic partner for promoting health and wellness and shaping the healthcare industry in Vietnam.
All right, thanks, buddy. Magic when it works, you say it twice. Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll dive into our presentation. Everybody, we have a special return guest today. Frank gave an amazing presentation at the British healthcare delegation the other week that I had the pleasure of supporting. And that'd be a good opportunity for him to give a refresh of some of the other concepts he shared with us recently in the last year or so. So Frank, over to you to tell us about how AI is going to improve patient-doctor interactions and make healthcare a more personal experience.
So can I stop on the screen sharing?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Go for it.
Okay, so
before you do, can I just get confirmation from folks online that you can hear okay? Are we missing our little island microphone thing? You just confirm that you can hear us all right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So this was a joint presentation between VNet Group and i5 Health. i5 Health is actually a member of the NHS in the UK, and they have access to the data of 55 million people over the last 15 years. And on the basis of this, they have been performing a lot of AI, all based on specific projects from the NHS and using the big data that they have. And so the agenda is actually consists of two parts. Number one is AI in healthcare, and I'm actually presenting for Dr. Harold, who's actually doing somewhere in the northern part of Vietnam. So I may not be as good as he is. And the second thing is how we actually apply, how and why we actually apply i5 to personal data for personal diagnosis, as well as company diagnosis, doctor diagnosis. So i5 is actually a technology that has been around for, Dr. Harold himself actually has been doing AI for the last 20 years. And i5 consists of basically, it takes health data of individual, and it does something called diagnostic stratification, which means it's categorize and organize the grouping of the patient data into different buckets. So the algorithm before i5DXT is actually very simple, and it's replicable all over the world because it's based on the algorithm called digital twin, which means that if it asks for a profile of you based on medical history of you, which is just a bunch of ICD-10 code, and then it looks for your digital twin in a set of 55 million data, and then it observes the set of disease and so on and so forth that this digital twin have, and then on the basis of that, it predicts whether you would have the same type of disease. So not a very complicated algorithm. So whenever you migrate to a new country, like they've already doing in Saudi Arabia and now in Vietnam, they basically do transfer learning. So basically they apply the same technology, find the same set of digital twin, and there they do it. So the technology is very simple, yet it's extremely effective. We have validated, we have do clinical validation of this. We took the data of 100 patient, heart patient at the Dong Nai Hospital and the Long Khánh Hospital in Dong Nai province. These are the people that actually have entered the hospital for different type of cardiovascular disease. And actually predict that 43 of these people actually will have to enter the hospital. And the reality is that exactly 43 of those patients actually did enter the hospital. The remaining 57 predict different types of things, and the prediction is exactly as the clinical evidence for now. So when we saw this, we feel very impressed, and so we bring the technology back to Vietnam, and this is it. So basically, it can, let me close this one. It can undiagnosed individual can be detected very early, 1 to 2 years ahead of time. So in the UK, what they do is they apply this technology on with the NHS to detect in advance. For example, they want to detect whether the person has AF, which is a kind of disease affecting the heart. Then they actually will look at, now this data is, so they look at the data of the all of the patients, let's say 55 million people, they find about 30,000 people actually may have the disease. And what they do, they pass those data onto the NHS. The NHS will pass that data because the NHS only have the identified information. And NHS will pass that data to the GP, and the GP will actually invite these people in, and from that they narrow down. So it can save a lot of money. And this has been applied in the UK by NHS for different types of disease. And this is the principle. So basically, health data of individual, diagnosis certification, which is the algorithm based on digital twin, and as a result of this, they will find out undiagnosed individual with long-term condition or individual with high risk of developing long-term condition. That is the principle of i5DXT. Very simple, but very effective. And so in England, there's about 15.4 million patients with undiagnosed condition of various kinds. And the NHS actually using this to try to find different types of people at the minimum cost. Because if they have to bring a large amount of people to the GP to diagnose, and it would cost them a lot of money, they use AI to pre-diagnose. And then they bring the people that AI has suspected of having the disease or will develop the disease to the GP to do real tests. And so they lessen the cost very much. So this is the case I'm talking about. Atrial fibrillation, or AF, because the long word is actually difficult to pronounce. So basically they did was they identify individual for targeted screening, and then they bring this individual that IFI had predicted to the GP to do the actual testing. So what the operations of IFI is based on the following principle. The first thing is data collection, which means that they have to collect a huge amount of data, which they do. Because in NHS, they have been collecting this data over the last 15 years. 55 million people of the UK population all have the data at the NHS. It's different from the US or different. Actually, Vietnam is not different, but we'll talk about Vietnam later. And then they build a predictive system based on digital twin technology. Very simple technology, but very effective and can work across the world. And then they applied it on a large scale. And then on the basis of that, they measure the outcome and do the clinical validation. For patients, what it can do is that it can diagnose and manage previously undiagnosed condition. This is extremely important. A particular patient can go along with life thinking that he doesn't have that. But when I look at his medical history based on ICD-10 code, it can predict potential disease of XYZ type of disease. And then if the patient is predicted with that particular thing, then he can actually go to a GP to get confirmation and plan. For GP, it basically allow the GP to do improve population health, and more importantly, promote self-care. It's very important because by the time the patient realizes that he has a disease and go to a clinic or a hospital, it may be too late. So if something can actually, even though it may only work at 90% accuracy, and actually this accuracy level is about 90%, it's good enough, okay? And then for provider, basically reduction of readmission, easing pressure on limited clinical resources, and avoiding non-payment on contractual care. And for payer, basically it management of patient, care management, and new models of primary care, combining AI and human being. And the technology has been applied for different types of work: preliminary diagnosis, outcome prediction, service recommendation, as well as health economy planning. And it has been applied with many companies and like so far 3 countries that has applied it is basically the UK, Saudi Arabia, and now Vietnam. And VMAT Group is actually, we decided to bring them back to Vietnam for this purpose. And very short about VMAT Group, because this is not about VMAT Group, this is about AI, is that we, a company that specializes in healthcare and nothing else, and we have distribution arm, manufacturing arm, medical IT arm, and investing arm. Investing meaning we will go build clinic, we will have tech means hospital. And when we approach healthcare IT, we use a very simple framework, which is called CICC. So we do everything based on compliance, which is compliant with international standard. Therefore, we use international standard to read data in or to produce data out. Data out is always filer, data in can be ICD-10, SNOMED, or whatever. So compliance is the first thing. Even though the software is made in Vietnam, it has to be compliant to international standard. Second thing is that we can combine everything. The second I is basically we try to combine everything, including software, medical equipment, and data from patients. And the third thing, we try to create an ecosystem, because healthcare is not a problem that can be solved by a single company, by a single group of company, but that have to be the strength of we, the strength of us, not the strength of me, right? And lastly, everything we do is compatible with existing software. So what do we do? So we have an integrated platform for service provider, for healthcare professional, and for patient. And all of these, all of the software in this integrated platform rests on the common data repository. This is very important because without Filer, Filer enable us to plug any component into the system. We don't have to be the slave to any particular provider. If the provider doesn't meet our requirement, doesn't meet our standard, we can kick the provider out if we bring in another provider that will conform to Filer. And we will allow interoperability of different systems. For example, we work with our appointment, our personal health record, which is can actually take an appointment from cervical Dr. Ivolik website. Like a person can make an appointment on Dr. Ivolik website. That appointment is pushed down to Filer, and anything that can read Filer can actually see that appointment. Interoperability the ability to choose provider and change provider on demand. This is the key. And then now that we have the filer repository, on top of that, we can apply BI and AI. It's very important because if you don't have filer, Vietnam is actually sitting on a mountain of health data, but it's in a proprietary format, XML. So because it's in XML, we cannot do much with it. So what we did an experiment at the Nai province. We took the data of 4210 XML from 16 community health center. We converted over to filer because we have the technology to do this. And within 3 weeks, they actually can produce intelligent dashboard, 24 dashboard for inpatient and 16 dashboard for outpatient. And then the Department of Health can predict different things. So it's very important that you migrate your data out of a proprietary that format into something that the world is using. And so one of the priority for the high-tech committee this year, number 1, is actually filer-based data repository. We need to go there because the world is already going there. So the second thing is that now that you have data, you can apply AI. But what do you do next? Because I apply BI. BI is good enough for human being to use, to see, but AI is key. Because only with AI can you actually do pre-screening and at a massive scale. That's why we bring AI in. And the second priority of health tech this year is how to apply AI to solve the use of AI in healthcare so that we can solve the last problem, which is the most important problem and the big problem in Vietnam, which is democratic access to healthcare. We have to solve that problem because Vietnam is we are not on record, right? Very inequitable in access to care, right? So for example, I give you a very concrete example. You go to a community health center, the ratio of doctor to patient right now is about 4 to 1,000. But of those 4 doctors, maybe only 1 is good enough. The rest doesn't have the right knowledge. So you go to a community health center, you take an X-ray picture to determine whether you have tuberculosis or not. That doctor with 9 months of training in radiology may not be able to tell you whether you have tuberculosis. But with the use of AI, it actually can predict, it can help the doctor help. The doctor say, pointing to the doctor that this patient may have tuberculosis. And then based on basis of that, because the doctor will only be the last person to sign the form, would have the doctor to take the credit for what the AI work does. But regardless who the credit belongs to, regardless, the patient is correctly diagnosed, right? And this is actually the way it's being done in Korea. The AI technology to read images come from Korea, a company called Lunit. It can predict tuberculosis, lung cancer, and breast cancer. Breast cancer is 93 to 95% accuracy, and lung cancer is 97 to 99% accuracy. Similarly, with chronic disease, we bring I5 home. I5 covers a very vast range of disease, but it can do that, right, with 90% accuracy. That's why you have to bring AI, because with AI, you can pay the fraction of a cost, can have the correct doctor to provide access to care even at the remote location in Vietnam, even at the community health center when the doctors are not properly trained, are not properly, does not have sufficient knowledge. That is the goal of healthcare. You have to provide democratic access to care. Otherwise, we shouldn't be in healthcare. We should do something else. Okay, and that's why we're doing this. The One Health is the platform for hospital. One Clinic is a similar thing. Identical platform. The only thing different is for the service provider, you only need the clinical information system, nothing else. And we do that to the clinics also, because in Vietnam there are 35,000 clinics. So how do we do this? Very simple. In our EMR, in the electronic medical record, the doctor can actually transfer the set of ICD code over to I5 via API, and will come back with the prediction of whether the patient actually has this disease or not. So for the doctors, they use EMR. EMR is integrated with I5 to allow the doctor to predict. For patient, you take the same I5 and you integrate it with the PHR. So what the PHR, what do you do? If you go examine at the clinic that is integrated with us, all of your medical history will appear on something called medical history list. And these are actually text-based as well as ICD-10 code. You can also manually enter in. You can actually click a button and you enter in. You search for a textual indication of your illness based on the paper, the physical paper that you get from doctor. It will instantaneously map that to ICD-10 code and will create the new ICD-10 code in the medical history. Once you have all of the ICD-10 code in the medical history. You click a button, you come over here to a screen. You click a button that you want to be able to diagnose whether you have any chronic disease, long-term care condition, and I5 will just come in and provide you back a report. You actually can decide what types of illness you want, whether you want to detect whether you have atrial fibrillation, diabetic type 2, cardiovascular disease, heart failure, asthma, so on and so forth. You choose, and then it will do it will apply AI based on the ICD-10 code that is in your medical history and predict. It will, any ICD-10 code that doesn't work, is not relevant, it will tell you that's not relevant. It will give you the percent of confidence based on the ICD-10 code that you have, whether what is the percent of confidence it has with this list of ICD-10 code, and it will tell you whether you have this disease with what percentage of probability. And this is what it can do, and it will really, really revolutionize the way of providing access to care. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Oh, and we have a campaign. Tuan, will you present the campaign, please, for corporation?
Hello everyone. Yeah, you almost forgot to show this to AmCham College. The most important part. Okay, for the first thing, I want to say that with the PHR, which use DST, we already developed English version, right, Francis?
Yeah, I can demo if you have time.
Yeah. So the showcase on this is Vietnamese version, but because we are going global, so we already get the English version for you to use. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we wanna execute special offer for corporations, naming staff care campaign. So we can offer PHR subscription first year free for you. And the second tier with non-social enterprises who sign up for the employees to apply DST, we can offer volume-based higher pricing and discounted pricing for social enterprises. And the fourth thing we are thinking about is because we are enterprises and we have a lot of CSR campaigns or activities. So in case you want to develop that kind of activities in the sense of CSR or charity, we can get companion with you and have special offer for you. Because as Francis already mentioned, one of our main purpose when we collab with IFI in this program is increase access to care for people of Vietnam. So if anyone are interested in this, can contact Francis and me so that we can discuss and exchange about further cooperation.
So our goal is to increase access to care, not necessarily to make money. So we actually give away the PHR for the first year so that you actually can use i5, because the PHR works the simplest way i5 works most simply. We have all of the medical history in terms of ICD-10 code. You just click a button and it will predict. So that's what we want to do, and we can do this for the reason why we divide between social enterprise and non-social enterprise, because our goal is to serve as much as possible the people who have the need. So if you are social enterprise, we give you the tremendous amount of discount. If you're non-social enterprise, we charge you just enough. And if you are non-social enterprise with a CSR program, we partner with you in that CSR program, just to be able to bring this technology, like the UK can bring it to their people. We want to bring it to the Vietnamese people. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thanks a lot, Frank. I mean, I love the idea of closing the knowledge gap with telemedicine and AI. When an artificial intelligent doctor is better than an actual doctor by a considerable margin, with lung cancer at 99%, where we said it was. I don't know what a human is, but it's probably considerably below that. So then a rural clinical facility can have the same clinical outcomes as a top hospital with the top trained doctor from a world-renowned facility. So that is, you're right, it's a change in healthcare equity. Love that.
Yeah.
How long until?
So it's very dangerous. Tuberculosis is coming back in full steam. And the kind of tuberculosis that will actually resistant to any medicine, totally resistant to any medicine. At the University of Medicine and Pharmacology in Hue, they randomly picked 100 patients and they did a test in one morning. 100 patients, 5 of them, which is 5%, have tuberculosis that will be resistant to any medicine. This technology can actually identify tuberculosis at the community health center with 100% accuracy and also recommended by WHO to replace doctor. That's why that is the primary reason why we bring this home, because tuberculosis is coming back to Vietnam in full steam. But we cannot do it alone. We need the partnership, the strength of us instead of the strength of me. We know we cannot do it. We do our part. That's it. But we need everyone participation to do this.
How long until the AI becomes sentient and gets grumpy about humans to get on the credit? Thanks, Frank. That's awesome. Let's open up to questions here in the room and online.
That was so brilliant. I feel like you took a veil from the future and I looked into the future just now.
Exactly,
It's really a wonderful presentation. I guess I have the obvious question. I would have thought that in the NHS work that was done, that there would be a lot of resistance among people due to privacy concerns. What are the privacy obstacles that you're facing, and how are you going to deal with them?
Excellent question. I'll answer that too, and can chime in if she has more. So in the NHS, the data of 55 million people over the last 15 years is actually completely owned by the NHS. Only 6 people in the entire country have access to that data, and they have access to that data based on a project-based scenario. They don't always have access to that data. And the project-based scenario is always associated with some kind of medical campaign that the NHS run. So if the data is owned by the NHS, the project is also organized and run by the NHS. In Vietnam, there's actually a decree, but no one listened to it. All of the provider of medical system that basically, like, I won't name them because it's political. The telco, the big telco, all I need to say is that there's a decree called Decree 83, which basically said that you can look up the Decree 83, which said that all of the data that is generated by hospital and clinic are owned by the hospital or the clinic or the Department of Health or the Ministry of Health, not owned by the providers of the platform. We fully conform to that decree. All of our data is actually, ideally we prefer the Department of Health to host this data. So if a Department of Health, a particular province want to host this data, we provide them with the software to host that data. If there's no Department of Health, we have to host that data onto HIPAA compliant system in the cloud, but totally de-anonymized. Like you see this slide here, this is just a bunch of ICD-10 code. There's no identification of patient on this data. But more importantly is that before the data is sent to I-5, it has to be de-identified. More importantly than that, the system that hosts this data have to be HIPAA compliant. There is no data center in Vietnam, none whatsoever, is HIPAA compliant. Okay, from Viettel, from VNPT, from whatever you want, from equity, none of them is HIPAA compliant. They don't consider HIPAA compliant a priority. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. So therefore, we have to host it on. We actually are supported by both. We actually get supported by both Microsoft and AWS. AWS gave us cloud credit to host a program called AWS Health Equity. Okay, we are one of the few company in the world was given free cloud by AWS to run the health equity initiative. That's what it's called. And we will use this for the good, for the purpose of good, not to mine the data, because we know fully what the law is, and we run it on HIPAA compliant system, and also we impose an extra degree of security, which is ISO 27009. All of the data in your PHR. If anyone wants to, let's say you go to a new clinic and that clinic wants to view your PHR, they have to make a request from their clinic to your PHR. You get a pop-up that say, do you agree to let this clinic view your data? And you say yes, and you say for how long, then you get to view. The thing that we are doing here today in Vietnam is based on a technology that a company in the US called Get Real Health, which is the largest PHR company in the world. They've already deployed in 50 countries. But they're based on XML, we based on Filer. We are way advanced than them in terms of technology. And they just get bought by Epic recently in 2020. But so all of the protection mechanism that is there is actually built into this, right? Because you only need one PHR to contain the medical history of an entire family. That is our invention. We get a US patent pending on this. You don't need a PHR for every single member of the family. You need one person in the family to register. That person can create record for all of can create view for all of the members of the family and can switch view on demand. That's what the difference. And when you use the medical equipment and have to upload data, you can choose whether this data is for which member of the family. So we do everything by the book. We innovate what we can, and we absolutely protect the data, even if the government wants to. We do not let them have it. So right now we put it on HIPAA compliant system. Even when the government wants it, they need to prove to us that their system, their hardware is actually, they have to engage in the process. So basically, we only talk to Viettel IDC. They said that if there is a particular Department of Health that wants to do this, they will work with us to go through the process of HIPAA so that we get it. But for now, we host it there. And if the Department of Health required, we will give them to host, but they actually have to go through this process first. Yeah. So it's an excellent question. Yeah.
Yeah. Your privacy compliance looks excellent. In fact, as you point out, a higher standard than the rest of the country.
It is.
But could you please go through the chain of a patient who may have a condition that's sort of buried in that 55 million people?
A chain meaning a typical scenario?
Right. How do you get,
okay.
You find one patient
very simple.
Has something that needs attention.
So let me go do live. I'll go to the real system, okay? I'll do live. It's better than talk. But I don't want to take too much time, so I only do this one request of Dr. Mason, okay? Oh, sorry, let me switch to English. Okay, so this is actually my PHR, my real PHR. Every day I measure myself, and actually, so Dr. Mason will jump at this because this is, my blood pressure is very high. And because I don't sleep at night, most of the time, I sleep very late. And so whenever I sleep late, my blood pressure goes up like crazy, right? And Dr. Mason knows this. And then so is my heartbeat and all of this. And every time I go to a clinic, right, I actually, if the clinic doesn't use our software, I actually can upload the software on here, manually upload. So Dr. Mason will love this. I take my son, okay, so this is a family history. I can switch view from myself to my son. So my son go to Victoria Healthcare. And I actually take the paper out of Victoria Healthcare and upload here. So for his visit to Victoria Healthcare, like this one here, I actually can take all of the data from Victoria Healthcare and upload. Like he has the diagnosis in Vietnamese, which means that he has whenever he stand up or sit down, he has his blood pressure drop, and then the different types of output from Victoria Healthcare actually appears on here. So so what happened is that if you go to a hospital, then you can take the data, and then what happened there is that the data you can actually like for my son, will actually appear on here. The data when you enter the data, scan it in, it will actually upload into the medical history automatically. And this in turn get changed into ICD-10 code, right? So, okay, let me try this with my son. I never done this. And then I can do a health assessment for my son using I5DST. There are many algorithms that we can do on here, but I5DS, the rest of them are manual from famous doctor that gave us the algorithm, not using AI. I5DST is the first AI that we put in, so you can look at I5DST, you tell it to perform, and you actually, I'm going to try to see if my son has AF, okay, based on his, we have to, the blood pressure drop, and I send it to I5. I5 will come back with a report. It's very simple. The user interface is extremely simple. Okay, I can view the assessment. Because actually the blood pressure drop from my son is actually not in Vietnamese, so they couldn't find it. Let me use my own example. Yeah, let me switch view to sorry, this is the last one. Look, I switch to my own view. Okay, now I go to my disease history, and I go into my health assessment. I go into my I5DST. You can see that I try to perform many already, but my medical history is not all real. There are some testing in there. So I just want to show you what it does. So then it will go to, it will look at all my ICD-10 code and it will tell which one it doesn't recognize. It will tell you the quality of the access, the ICD-10 code that can be believed in. It will tell you the relevancy of the medical history. This is basically specificity. If you talk about AI, there are three things. Specificity, accuracy, and the last S, forget, I don't remember. And then it would say whether actually have vascular disease or not. So if you have real medical history with real ICD-10 code, this will work. We've already clinically validated this. Very simple user interface. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much it. And the same thing with the lung. Let me show you the lung, and then I will add. The lung is like this. So I will go to I just demoed this today at 15:29. If I come here, I was afraid that I may be late. Oh, sorry. Okay. So this is the demo that I did at 15 using Lunet, which is the AI from Korea. So this is a lung picture, right? And this is, I'm going to invoke that Lunet to tell me. This is still in Vietnamese. We haven't translated everything. I will invoke Lunet to tell me, to identify whether I have any disease with this lung picture. This is real invocation of Lunet, real time. Internet slow. Where did it go? Oh, I don't know. It should appear there, but here it's in right here. So after it predict, it will appear right here. It will draw the different region of the lung that has problem. This is AI detecting with 99% accuracy. And if you click on this button here, there's a button here at the top. It will tell you the detailed analysis. This is real AI doing the work, 99% accuracy. Okay, and with i5 is 90% accuracy. So that's why we can take this service to the masses to create democratic access to healthcare. Sorry, that's it.
Yeah. So I added one more thing to the questions because this one can apply to individual and also from the healthcare provider. They will have dashboards to see and to identify the information, because the information in the clinic is provided and guaranteed by the agreement from the patient. So from that, they can see if the patient is getting the chronic disease or not. So I just said one more thing.
So we have, since we present this at the UK digital event, I am so busy. Every day I have to meet at least 2 clinics or 2 hospitals. Everyone is interested in this because it's real.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, thanks, Frank. That's really
DEI agenda.
She's mesmerized.
Yeah.
Hard act to follow. Thinking of that, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. Something I've seen.
You know, sometimes you want to give feedback on an agenda, and I thought maybe I should go before Frank. I thought, no, I'm sure I'll just leave it till the end. Maybe we'll run out of time or something. But now I'm like, okay. A hard act to follow. But that was really interesting. But it is kind of a couple of things. I hadn't seen the presentation, but the number of times you mentioned the word self-care fits quite nicely into the fact that that's one of the reasons why I wanted to give an update on the subcommittee that I represent, because it's by far and away one of the biggest trends that is emerging in healthcare is the difference between treatment and prevention and self-care, which is very much related to what you were just showing. And certainly, Livy, there's a slide I shared. I'm not sure whether you're able to put it on the screen. Yes. The update I wanted to share with the wider healthcare committee was that one of our subcommittees that was created a couple of years ago was in the area of consumer nutrition. And what myself and the other members of the subcommittee are going to do is, for a few reasons, we are going to pivot this subcommittee to the area of consumer health and wellness. And one of the major reasons, which I've listed in number 2 here, is that there is a big change in people's healthcare priorities, very much linked to what Frank was talking about, particularly in the area of moving away a realization that we cannot wait for everybody to get sick and then to treat them and to catch things at a late area, but it's much easier to prevent these diseases becoming an issue, and a much more heightened awareness of wellness. This trend was already happening and more people were doing, it was having an increasing role in healthcare, but the pandemic kind of put a massive accelerator underneath that. And I think not just for patients and consumers, but also for public stakeholders as well, and a realization that we cannot allow overwhelming amounts of patients to be in the healthcare systems. And the best way to prevent that is for people to live a healthier life and so on. So one of the reasons that the committee was originally set up, which is the first case for change, was that it was set up to represent primarily some of the infant nutrition parts of the sector. That sector was not very well engaged with the committee because it was already very well represented through the AmchamVN's food committee. So what we're trying to do is, based on our current membership and the future members that we see as part of this subcommittee, is that health and wellness much better represents the advocacy issues that they have and the communication that they want to make in terms of their priorities with all stakeholders in the healthcare industry. And the third one is that in the last 2 years, there's a big emergence of a new sector of dedicated multinational companies in the area of OTC. Pharma companies have been spinning off and separating out their over-the-counter businesses. This year, at the end of last year, GSK spun off and created Haleon. In 2023, Johnson & Johnson, one of the biggest US firms, will spin off and create Kenvue, and others are under review of their consumer healthcare segments as well. So we know that there is an opportunity to better represent not just OTC companies, but also companies that operate in the area of lifestyle, that operate in the area of diet, that operate in the area of wellness. Everything that can go into creating a healthier life for the people in the Vietnamese communities. So we're going to move the healthcare, this subcommittee from just representing consumer nutrition to representing consumer health and wellness for those 3 reasons. The call to action is that we currently have around about 5 to 6 active members within the subcommittee. We would like to aim to double that in 2023. So if there are any people who are active in the area of health and wellness, they can reach out to any of the 3 people listed at the bottom to get more involved. We have 3 key priorities, much like the digital subcommittee in the year of 2023. The first of those is this, which is to relaunch and double the participation. We do have a lot of activities that were organized over the last 2 years. There was a very big interest in self-care, and there was a very big interest in prevention and what people could do to boost their immunity during the pandemic years. And then actually last year, one of the major talks that was held by the Healthcare Committee was a return to a new normality and what that means for mental wellness and how we go back to a post-pandemic world. So one of the other areas is that we've already held initial discussions with the Asia Pacific self-medication industry, which is represents the self-care industry across all of the countries of Asia Pacific. The only major country that's not a member of that at the moment is Vietnam, because it doesn't have an industry body to represent the people who are advocating for these issues. So by repositioning ourselves in health and wellness, we aim to be the Vietnamese representatives in this regional representation as well. And then finally is to raise and drive awareness of some of the advocacy and some of the benefits that represent our members, particularly during key events and key days and things like this. And one of those will be the International Self-Care Day and so on, and that will have very large participation because the increasing awareness of the WHO and a lot of the Self-Care Federation on the role that this can play in achieving universal health care in Vietnam and around the world is only increasing with every year. So for that reason, the update from myself and the rest of the committee is a small change and a repurpose, not a reconstitution in terms of this subcommittee, from representing more than nutrition to more towards a broader health and wellness, driven by those three reasons to change. And we would love to hear more from people who have an interest in self-care to cooperate and use these platforms like the Asia Pacific self-care industry and so on to be able to see how we can collaborate and drive more awareness, more networking and better collaboration between our members and then also the other stakeholders in the healthcare. Thank you.
So joining up, we try to get.
Yes.
I have a question on that topic. I'm just curious. It makes so much sense to me. I'm just wondering, when you look at the Ministry of Health, the way they label their departments maybe or their areas, are you ahead of their curve or are you mirroring are they with this trend or are they still kind of in the nutrition space when they're talking about health and wellness? Is there a correlation with them or are you really a future kind of a thing?
I think the Vietnamese Ministry of Health is a little bit behind on this because if you take a parallel country like Philippines, they already have specific articles and laws regarding self-care and the importance of it and how it can be used and so on. However, in Vietnam, they do have a law on prevention. That law on prevention will be updated either this year or next year. And that can be one of the advocacy issues that we're involved in terms of shaping. We know that the pharma law will happen over the next few years, but they do have a law on prevention as well. So they're kind of in that space. Are they specifically having departments that are named like that? Not exactly, but I think there is an increasing awareness of how it is. And I forget the Vietnamese name of the major campaign that they launched. Which is essentially around driving better awareness of self-care and things that people can do to prevent. That is an evolution of, historically, it has just been about nutrition and driving up the average height of children and so on and things like this. It's moving much more into a broader area now, especially as the population ages, it grows and so on.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. I would like to share some feedback on this. And this is my first time hearing about this subcommittee on the consumer nutrition and moving forward to become consumer health and wellness. So I recognize that in the sector committee of AmchamVN and also AmchamVN, we had the nutrition, we had the food and beverage, correct? So for the food and beverage sector committee, is addressed directly to any regulatory constraint or challenge or advocacy directly to the Ministry of Health via the Food Administration Department. So there is the agency, dedicated agency, the Ministry of Health looking on that, where member company can advocate for regulation and change. And that's why when we bringing up consumer nutrition here, my question is that is there anything that may be overlap to the food and beverage sector committee, because we talk a lot about technical issue and standard related to food safety, and it also for nutrition product. You know, company like Bosch or Mondelez or Nestle, they are also a part of this committee. So for consumer nutrition like this, so maybe they also product related to technical requirement, which you need to address to the food administration department under the Ministry of Health. And if you're talking about like cell care, so you may go to the CDC for healthcare, prevention. So for CDC, it may be a little bit different. So when you address in terms of that, so the question how you can come up with the agenda and how company underneath, because now 5 company, right? So now it can be like 20 company at your aspiration. So what is the agenda look like and how you are going to work to support for the company to address the concern and help them to develop under the support and feedback from the government.
Agree on your point, which is why the consumer nutrition subgroup wasn't as effective when it was aimed at nutrition, because it had too much of an overlap. And that's exactly why none of the members are Abbott, Nestle, Friesland, or anything like that, because they said we are very well represented through the relevant food and beverage groups, either through Eurocharm or through AmCham. And that's exactly why we wanted to pivot away a little bit more from trying to attract those people to be part of the healthcare committee and saying they are already satisfied with the advocacy and communication that they have to be able to raise issues through those chambers. And so we wanted to move more into health and wellness, of which nutrition is one part of health and wellness. There are many, many areas inside it. So that's exactly why we wanted to move to something which is a little bit different, because there was previously too much of an overlap. Your point on the engagement with the CDC and prevention and things like that, I think is exactly right. And depending on who we have within the membership and what we agree as some of the top advocacy issues that we want, then we can then map out exactly who we want to work with. Based on our current membership, which is predominantly OTC companies, our current 5 members, the one thing in common is for sure driving this self-care awareness. And the way that we wanted to do that is by continuing to advocate for that, which was one of our bullet points in the white paper that we'd written for the last healthcare committee, but also to be able to participate on a regional level, because what we discovered was that members of the Ministry of Health were attending these regional meetings, but with no representation from the Vietnamese industry. And so in all other countries, in Thailand, in Japan, in Philippines, Indonesia, they were coming together with public sector and private sector from each of the countries. And there was an absence of anybody representing the rest of the industry from a Vietnamese point of view. So right now, based on the current membership, that's what we've written as our priorities. But we're more than happy to broaden it based on whoever else has an interest in consumer health and wellness, and to be able to look at what the priorities and communication plan should be after that.
Actually, that is the co-chair of Food and Beverage Committee under the AmCham for 3 years already. Under Food and Beverage Committee, we have more than 30 members. Cover all big name, Pepsi, Coca, Abbott, First Cabin, and Nestle, and many other as well. And we work very well, and a lot of advocacy activity. Currently, we have got one position paper about the nutrition label. The nutrition label is being impacted in all products. However, it is exempted for the health supplement. And we already have got 4 position paper sent to the MOH. The 4th one, I will talk with you later because I need to expedite this so that I can send to the MOH because today is the deadline for the position paper for the nutrition later.
I agree, and that's exactly why we make the change, because that was the feedback we had from the nutrition companies, is that they are well represented through the others.
Yeah, we have a very good and strong relationship with the Vietnam Food Administration and with the other government as well, and with the government office as well. Yeah, and we have got a lot of position paper to advocate on the activity. Yes.
Yep. And I think that's why we want to do something different, because there is already representation through there. We don't, unless they would like to, we don't have any ambition to ask Friesland or Abbott or anybody to join this, unless they want to collaborate in terms of the self-care, in terms of OTC products and so on. The nutrition is very well represented, which we put there through the already existing bodies that
We always welcome more participation. We want to keep it on time. We want to get people out of this room in 15 minutes, and we still have a few more points in the agenda. So thanks, Kevin. Really appreciate the update. Maybe back to the agenda. Okay, so each of the we have a slide for each.
Yeah, we have a slide for each. So I think the goal of this, and actually Innovative Farmers first. So
there you go.
I'll kick us off. First, a bit of context. In December, we talked about having really clear priorities for each of the subsectors as we went into 2023. This is our first formal meeting, other than the happy hour in January. To we wanted to make sure we had the opportunity to go through each of the subsectors and talk about priorities. I think across the subsectors these are probably still in a working draft format, right? They're like 80% there. But just to give you guys an overview of Innovative Pharma, top 3 priorities this year are related to really focused on advocacy as it relates to registration, procurement, and market access. I think you all have talked to me or heard me talk about in the past in Vietnam. It takes a really long time to get drugs registered, and then in turn to get them publicly reimbursed. And so there's pieces of that across registration, procurement, and market access that really lend to how do we make this a more sustainable, reliable, and predictable system, and how do we ensure that we can get new innovations to the patients that need them most. The second is really on how do we sort of focus on catalyzing some of the dialogues that we talked about last year. 2023 is a critical year for the innovative pharma sector. As you know, the pharmaceutical law will be revised, likely effective go in front of the National Assembly in 24. That means a lot of the work happens in 2023. So we need to make sure we have clear engagement plans and are raising a consistent voice across the industry. And I know a number of other subsectors are affected by the pharmaceutical law revision as well. So I think close partnership is really important. And then I think reestablish and expand active participation in the subcommittee. So it's been a bit ad hoc in the last year. And I also know we have a number of members sitting here in the room that have pharma as a portion of their business. So thinking about how do we re-engage and make sure we're all aligned on what is the way forward. So that's a quick overview of the top priorities for innovative pharma. I'll pause and just see if there's any questions or concerns. And then I'll be looking to engage a couple of you guys to formalize the subsector a bit.
I'm not looking at anybody.
Yeah, I think I don't see anyone else in the line, but there's a few others that aren't in the room that will look
Okay, so fantastic, Jen. I guess one other point that would want to call out, if there's any milestone coming up, like a new regulation, anything that we know that we can target any advocacy towards, support, fight back against. Let's keep that in mind. With pharma, we always have something with the drug registration regulations and cans kicking down the road. And
so we're lucky with the MA renewal that went into effect. We did see the first list issued earlier, I think just a week ago. We're expecting one more. So in terms of firefighting, there's always some amount, but it's a little bit lighter now. There's some specific issues that I know a few of our member companies have that still need to be addressed. In terms of milestones, I would say mid-year becomes a really important advocacy time for engagement on the pharmaceutical law revisions. Those are being drafted with the MLH right now. They'll start to be, so that I think is important as we think about potential engagement with stakeholders.
Thanks, Jen.
I'll be brief, and then I think we should transition to the next just so we can go through. But if there's questions, please channel those to me.
Lily? Private insurance.
Yeah, private insurance is quite, and we quite align with the whole community objective, because our goal is to want to improve the policy environment that support the whole member community, and also we want to have more channel discuss about the growth sector business, and also have some all the member to get smarter in the industry. So again, the top priority of the, among the member of private insurance, we focus on two top priority. The first one, we still want to promote the better understanding of all the latest development of insurance, industry in Vietnam, any law, it's a huge big law during to and coming effect this year about, the insurance law, and also this will be impact the whole ecosystem of including pharma or innovative hospital provider. So the second, we hear a lot about, the digital tech, the healthcare tech. So it also from insurance part, we have the insurance tech also. And all the private insurance are looking at the part. And in the market already 2 or 3 small insurance tech already. But it just very newborn baby already. But all, the law, everything in very gray area. So that will be very the member really want to see any investment in digital transformation in private insurance, and also the law, relating to all that, the digital insurance. And also one thing we brainstorm how to improve the engagement of the whole member of the state committee. So there one thing we really want to select have some sharing about risk management or insurance, the role insurance a lot on the membership or any community.
Just a question about the private insurance sector. I see that you mentioned about the healthcare improvement and access for better health. So does it include any agenda for the amendment and revision of the law of health insurance? With the Ministry of Health, they are now proposing, and they are going to revise at the National Assembly in their agenda. So is it a part of this as well that you are also advocate for that?
Yeah, sure. We will include that too. On the big name of private insurance, they have the different, dialogue to the government. But we really want to leverage it, chamber, AmCham, to bring the unit voice to the government and national and all that.
We really keen to see specific sharing about the milestone in the coming time.
It's like the eminent, right? Those conversations are happening. Right.
Because the supplement health insurance is very important. It was included in the first draft of the health insurance law, but recently it has been removed out. So are you on top of that, and what are you going to do?
Yeah, it means because a lot, because it impacts the private insurance too. So yeah, we will.
All right, we have to get through a few more. We only have 5 minutes left. I promise to get people out on time. So just keep going. Devices.
Okay. Med devices. So I can be very quick and give you some time back. First one is enhance our med device subsector membership, because at the moment I think it's only me. And then once we can find a few more members, I expect we'll probably spend some time just working on these priorities and refining them a little bit. The second one there is really around advocacy and finalisation and the approval of Decree 98. So this one is going around at the moment, and I hope this will be resolved before the end of February, which will resolve an issue of extension of import licenses to the end of 23. So I know a lot of companies are struggling right now to get medical devices into the country until Decree 98 is finalised. The follow-on from that, though, is the process of speeding up the granting of the registration licenses beyond 23. Otherwise, we'll end up with this same issue next year. And I think this is an issue for the med device sector every year. So we need import licenses granted so that we don't run into this problem. And the third piece there is around advocacy for drafting med device law. So Vietnam is drafting their first med device law. We want to be involved in a number of issues. I'm sure many companies will want to have discussion on there, but particularly making sure there's an inclusion of value-based procurement, and we're not just going to the cheapest med device procurement model, which is high risk for industry and for bringing innovative med devices into Vietnam.
Good. We on?
This one I didn't read.
We covered this one, really.
Yeah.
Next.
Next, please. Next.
So the health tech subsector is just an enabler for everyone else.
Yeah.
Because health, I mean, technology is nothing without the end. It's not a goal. It's not an end. It's just one of the enabler. So with that, we've been fighting number one since 2020, and now I think we begin to see the light of day because we succeed in one province, which is the province of Dong Nai. The Department of Health actually wants to see the data in Filer so they can see the dashboard. And I was at the UK Digital Health Conference. I sat right next to the Vice Director of the ICT Department of the Ministry of Health, and he said, we would like to talk to you about putting data on Filer so we can see the dashboard. You have to have some economic motive for the MOH to move, and one of the economic motives is that they can see the data. Because with the Power BI dashboard, even though as simple as it is, because Vietnam has a lot of any 2 cases of any kind of disease happening in a particular town, that's considered a potential potential epidemic already. 2 cases only. And with the Power BI, that's what they can see that very clearly. And in the Power BI, that's what we have the ability to break it down into the individual, like Vietnam follow like town, city, and whatever come in, right? We break that down to that level. And we can do this with Filer. We cannot do this with XML. So we hope that will happening, and we will use our own money to deploy this at the different provinces to convert the data into Filer. Because when it's on Filer, everyone benefits. Right? When it's on Filer, Dr. San can make an appointment, and then that appointment goes there and it appear, and everyone will benefit when we have a Filer data repository at the provincial level. So that's very high priority. We're fighting this battle since 2020, believe it or not. And finally, I think we get there. The second thing is that we can apply AI if possible. And the last thing is actually have to be all of us combined together, because we can do this for our own company, but in order to be able to do this for remote part of Vietnam, right? Even though the cost of AI is very cheap, we still need to do this through some kind of our corporate CSR program, because we alone cannot do this. VMed alone cannot do this, right? So that's the 3 simple goals that we have for 2023. And like I said, we enabler for everyone else. We're a technology enabler for all of the other sectors of the AmCham healthcare. And you need something that is not enabled by these 3 enablers. We're more than happy to work with you.
Thank you. Lucas is not here, so we get to volunteer and all sorts of stuff. Update the white book, publish the white book, and then he's tasked with figuring out what is our next healthcare dialogue here in Ho Chi Minh City versus New Trang and Hanoi once the dust settles with the recent transitions, combination of both, and what all the ancillary steps have to go into that. So Luke's tasked with figuring that out. Next. Thank you. Dr. Mason, did you have 3 points you wanted to share with us for clinics and hospitals?
Yes, it's still the same concerns.
Yeah.
First is the foreign language requirement. They've already done that in reverse here in Ho Chi Minh City, at least, and that's requiring the Vietnamese doctors to speak English if they have a non-Vietnamese speaking patient. The second is, in fact, I think others are carrying the water on this, but that's digital transformation in a way that can really be integrated into the clinics nationally, because we all have, most of us now have electronic medical records, but they're from literally all over the world. Those are our 2 big ones. 3 is clarity And I would also echo what's been said previously about catching up with the whole concept of wellness and self-care. As a matter of fact, at this moment, there is not even an actual Vietnamese word that's specific to wellness, let alone some branch of the government or some set of regulations.
Maybe we should create one.
Yeah,
Sure. Can be one of the priorities.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Dr. Mason. And then comes the end of the agenda and other areas of business. Please.
One very quick update, which might be of interest to some people. I'll try to finish it in 1 minute or less.
Thank you.
So the consulate and the embassy recently had a conversation, actually it was yesterday morning, with the headquarters of the U.S. Trade and Development Agency in Washington, D.C. They are looking to engage Vietnamese medical authorities in a series of workshops or roundtables or trainings, or perhaps a reverse trade mission to the United States. They're beginning to finalize their proposals. It includes some of the areas that were discussed today at this conversation. And I expect within a couple of days, or maybe a week or two, I will get their rough input.
Cool.
I asked if we could share it with the Healthcare Committee for your comment and possible dissemination of the members. If you are interested in getting comments, you can either contact USTDA directly, or you can contact me through the consulate, and then we can engage with them. They are interested in getting input, and some of the topics that talked about included medical devices, digitalization, so many of the same issues you're interested in. So once I have more information, I will forward it to the two co-chairs and get guidance from USTDA on what's going on. So if you're interested in sharing it or talking among yourselves, please let me know.
So the UK does this very well. They begin with a delegation of UK healthcare community to Vietnam, and they follow up with a delegation of Vietnamese healthcare community to UK in March. So I think that the US...
Yeah, so I think this proposal is actually more focused on government officials and having workshops with them on best practices, perhaps taking them to the US, perhaps having some sort of dialogue event, which may perhaps, so I will let you know once I have the information. I'll forward it to the two co-chairs.
Is this connected to Ambassador Tai's visit?
Not directly, but I think it's part of the general overall discussions with IPEF and trying to further strengthen the ties between our two economies.
Other areas of business? Online? All right, guys. Well,
really good discussion today. Thanks for the great presentation, Frank. Super engaging, and thanks to the subsector leads for sharing your priorities. I think now we'll try to synthesize and make sure we have a comprehensive plan for 2023. But you saw a lot of requests on subsector leads to encourage you to get engaged, so please do that. And thanks for coming in person. Great to see everybody.
Thanks so much for the sharing. It's very helpful. Bye.